Раз, два, три, четыре, пять. Начинаем, okay. Oh, you guys not going to believe I made the whole 1 hour video about alphabet and my mic was off and the video had horrible echo. So, 1 more hour. 1 more hour to go. Okay. So in this video about Russian alphabet, first of all, why do we need to learn alphabet? In any language, the first thing that you do, you learn alphabet. Why? You want to learn alphabet because it will help your pronunciation. With every language, the pronunciation game is different. For example, in English, I find the rules are harder than in Russian language because let's say if you take letter A, in English language, it can sound like A, it can sound like A, it can sound like E. It's always different, and you need to know the rules behind. You need to know the context to know how to pronounce this letter A in any given situation. With Russian language, I want to say that it's a little bit easier because for the most part, the way you see the letter, the way the word is written, the way it's spoken, for the most part, with some exceptions, and yes, sometimes the letter is stressed, sometimes it's not. One case, the consonant can be voiced, another case, it can become devoiced. It can be soft and can be hard, and yes, it will affect the perception of your speech. You may sound a little bit more native, a little bit less native, but for the most part, people will be able to understand you just from the way you speak if you don't know all of the rules around pronunciation. However, my job as a teacher is to teach you the right way. The native way, the alphabet from A to Ya, from the beginning to the end, and I want to tell you how we pronounce each letter. Each letter sounds in a given situation. Sometimes it has one sound, sometimes it has two sounds, sometimes even three sounds. For example, letter O in Russian language, it can sound as O only when it's stressed. Like in the word malako, I say ma, la, ko, and only the last O is actually pronounced as O. When it's not stressed, it's pronounced as A. After letter Y, after the sound Y, after I краткая, O pronounced as Yo. Yo, like in the word bouillon, because it's a borrowed word. If you say moloko, people will still understand you. But again, my job is to teach you the right way. So you are fully equipped with all of the tools around Russian language. Okay, let's begin. Okay, we're going to start by looking at our alphabet. We have A, B, V, G, D, E, Yo, Ж, Z, I, K, L, M, N, O, P, R, S, T, U, F, H, C, Ча, ша, ща, твердый знак И, мягкий знак Ю, Я. Now let's sing the song. А, Б, В, Г, Д, Е, Ё, Ж, З, И, К, Л, М, Н, О, П, Р, С, Т, У, Ф, Х, Ц, Ч, Ш, Щ, твердый знак И, мягкий знак Ю, Я. Еще раз. А, Б, В, Г, Д, Е, Ё, Ж, З, И, К, Л, М, Н, О, П, Р, С, Т, У, Ф, Х, Ц, Ч, Ш, Щ, твердый знак И, мягкий знак Ю, Я. Doesn't matter if you can't actually figure out the exact sound. We are going to break it down one by one how the letter is different from a sound. I just want you to overall remember what it is we're saying from A to Ya. Okay, let's do it one more time and that's it. A, B, V, G, D, E, Ё, Ж, Z, I, K, L, M, N, O, P, R, S, T, U, F, H, C, Ч, Ш, Щ, твердый знак И, мягкий знак Ю, Я. And the first thing that I want to tell you about Russian alphabet is that we have 3 letters that sound exactly the same in Russian and in English. These letters are M, te and ka. And you can remember them by memorizing the phrase my toolkit. My toolkit already equipped me with this letter, so I can put my toolkit away and know that I know how to pronounce these letters. So this is rule number 1. Let's move to the first letter. The first letter reminds us of stereotypically cold Russia. Think about Arctic when you think about Russia. Arctic, like in the word Arctic, is the first letter of the alphabet. You can practice it with the following words. Как, how. Was, you, when we address to you, when you are the object. Как вас зовут? Как вас зовут is how are you called, or what is your name. Как вас зовут is your first phrase. You can also remember the words нас, us, and the word рад. Я рад. Я is I. Я рад means I'm glad. When we talk about masculine context, я рад is what the man would say. Я рада is the feminine word, so this is what the woman would say. Я рада. I'm glad. Как вас зовут? What is your name? Нас зовут. Our name. Us. We are called. Us зовут. And я рада. Я рад. I'm glad. For men and for women. Second letter of Russian alphabet has a big belly. Put your hands on the belly and say letter B or sound B. B, like in babushka. Please memorize the stress correctly, not babushka. It's important to memorize the stress, right? If you learn it wrong, then your mind will always wonder which way you need to pronounce the stress. So I know for some reason people say in America, at least people say babushka, but matryoshka, yes, but babushka, we say babushka. You can practice this word with the word babushka. Bak is a container. Sorry, babushka is the grandmother. And the other English word to remember is tabak, which is tobacco. And with the letter B, we have our first rule. The first rule around consonant is that consonants can be voiced and devoiced. The consonant that can be voiced and devoiced are called paired consonants. What is voiced and devoiced? So voiced consonants like letter B and the sound B is voiced because we are using our vocal cords to produce the sound. So the lips, the mouth, the position of the tongue can be the same if we say B and if we say the counterpart, the devoiced part of B, which is sound P, or letter P. So you hear B, P. My mouth, my tongue, everything stays the same. The only thing that changes is the intensity that I give through my vocal cords. So B is the voiced part and P is its devoiced pair, the devoiced counterpart. In Russian language, voiced consonants can become devoiced when in two situations. First, when the consonant is at the end of a word. For example, in the word bread, хлеб. It's written as h, l, ye, b at the end, but we pronounce it as p, as its devoiced partner. So every time the voiced consonant is at the end of a word, it becomes devoiced. The second rule when the voiced consonant becomes devoiced is when it's paired together with the devoiced consonant. For example, a word klubok. And if I want to say it in plural, I would say klubki. You hear how the word klubok, B, is prominent and it's voiced, but in the word klubki, it's devoiced because B and K paired together, the K goes after the voiced B, and it makes it devoiced because K is devoiced. As we discuss later, you will hear that K is devoiced and G is voiced in that case. So two rules. One, when the consonant, the voiced consonant is at the end of a word, it becomes devoiced, like in the word хлеб. And when it's paired with the voiced consonant, it also becomes devoiced, like in the word klubki. And then the other rule is that almost every consonant in Russian language can be soft. Some of the consonants always stay hard, like letters zh, she, c. Zh, sh, c, always hard. And later I'll tell you why. And some consonants are always soft, like letters cha and sha. Ch, sh, ch, sh. Always soft. Other consonants can be hard and soft. So for example, our consonant b or letter b, sound b, can be soft, like b, b. For example, in the word билет, билет, or береза, береза. You see how different бабушка and билет. Б, бабушка, билет. Б, бабушка, билет. So between B and B, very small difference, tiny, almost unheard difference. But it's there. So when you try to make any consonant in Russian language soft, think about flattening your tongue and smiling. B, B, B. Also, if you pronounce E after the consonant, you'll have the same effect. So for example, B, B, бабушка, but B, 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 билет, B. And try to just make that sound smaller. B, 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 B. So that B sound is your soft sound. When does the consonant become soft? The consonant in Russian language becomes soft when it precedes soft sign, мягкий знак, when it precedes vowels ye, yo, you, ya, and i. From those vowels, ye, yo, you, ya, are called iotated vowels. And I'll tell you later why, but for now it's important to remember that if the consonant goes before one of those vowels, it becomes softer, like in the word береза, b, b, береза. We don't say b, береза, we say b, b, береза. Okay? And the next consonant, the third consonant in Russian language, the third letter in Russian language, consonant v, or sound v. You can practice it with the words like вас, you remember, вас, как вас зовут, зовут also has letter v. Вас is you, зовут is called, or like that's what we ask when we ask what is your name. I hope that you are writing down all the vocabulary that I'm giving you, because I'm trying to give you either short words, the words where you can practice softness and hardness of the consonant, and words where you can practice its voiced feature and devoiced feature, and also some English sounding words, so you can effortlessly build your vocabulary without thinking, like in the word tabak. You're like, oh, you probably didn't know that tobacco and tobacco is the same, but I'm telling you now, you know. And maybe some of the words you can guess, like words pizza or Coca-Cola. It may be intuitive, maybe not. Sometimes languages borrow words between each other. So I'm here to tell you short words, words where you can practice different pronunciation of the same letter, and some English sounding words for like easier vocabulary expansion. Okay, so when we talk about letter a sound V, it can also be voiced and devoiced. So voiced, it's V, and devoiced, it sounds as F. So its devoiced counterpart is letter F. For example, there is a word cow, which is korova, korova in Russian language. And if I want to say I have many cows, I would say у меня много коров, много коров. You see how the voiced V from korova became devoiced when I say korov, because you remember it's at the end of a word. V can also be soft. So we have hard V, like in English vase, or Russian vaza, and it can be soft, like in English Vietnam, Vietnam, and Russian Vietnam. It's the same word, but different stress. Vietnam. The word gallows should help you remember next letter. Letter G, or sound G, like in the word gallows or good. For now, just learn the word говорить. говорить. Говорить is a verb and it means to speak. Я говорю по-русски. Я говорю по-русски. I speak Russian. You can hear how G is voiced, like in the word city, город, город. And it becomes devoiced and sounds like K, like in the word rock or Bog. Well, with the word Bog, which is God, it sounds kind of like something in between H and K, Bog, Bog, Bog. So it's not intentionally set as H or K, it's like just exhale of letter G without using that voice chords. Bog, Bog. Something in between K and H, I want to say. Remember that this rule only applies when the consonant all the way at the end. So if I say, I believe in God, я верю в Бога, G becomes voiced again, becomes prominent again. So when I say Bog, it's at the end, it's reduced, right? But when we have a vowel on the when we have a vowel at the end of a word, it's voiced again. Я верю в Бога. I believe in God. Я верю в Бога. Okay, moving on to next. Next letter D or sound D, like in the word dress. Picture the pretty dress, D, like in dress. D is voiced and its counterpart, the devoiced counterpart is T, D, T. You can practice this words with the, you can practice this letter with the words dom, house, and вода, water, вода. You see how O is reduced? It's not вода, it's вода. Almost something like in between O and A. And D also becomes devoiced like in the word в глубине вод, в глубине вод. В глубине вод. D becomes reduced and it sounds like T. We can practice soft D, so from D to D in a word like Dima. Dima is a Russian name, so see, dom, D, dom, D, Dima, D, Dima, or dядя, uncle. Don't confuse the next letter with Roman alphabet, with English-looking E. This letter sounds like yeah, like in the word yeah. It's yeah, like my name is Katya, but my full name is Ekaterina. And the important thing about letter yeah is that it belongs to the iotated group that I mentioned earlier. Iotated group is the group of vowels ye, yo, you, ya. These vowels can have one sound or two sounds depending on the situation. So letter yeah can be very soft and have one sound, like in the word kebab. And it can have two sounds, y, like in the word Ekaterina, yel. You see, it sounds like y, So with all of those four vowels, it can have one sound or two sounds depending on the case. So the case when it has two sounds, when the vowel is in the beginning of the word. Якорь, ягода, юла, ель, ёлка, Ekaterina. It has two sounds when it follows another vowel, like in the word выезд. It can have also two sounds if it follows hard sign or soft sign. Въезд, вьюга. It's very prominent, this y-u, y-o, y-u, y-a, and y-e. And the case when it has only one sound is when it goes after the consonant, like in the word kebab, ключ, клятва, and so on. Words to practice letter ye is ехать, to go by transport. Ехать. You can say я еду. I'm going by transport somewhere. Въезд is entrance. And поезд. Поезд. Поезд is train. You see how everything is around the same word. Ест, езда, ездить, to go. So въезд, ехать, я еду, and поезд, поезд. And the next letter, letter yo. Yo is unusually looking letter. It has 2 dots on top. No other letters has dots. So remember, ye and yo, like in the word yoga or yo. However, in the word yoga, you remember that yo also belongs to the iotated group. It actually produces 2 sounds, y and o. So yoga is actually spelled in Russian language with y and o, yoga. But letter yo can produce 2 sounds, y, o. And it can also produce 1 sound, like in the word мед. Мед or Artyom, Artyom. You see, it's only 1 sound, yo, 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 instead of y, or, like in the word yolka. And Artyom, Artyom, мед, мед. Very slight difference, but I want you to see the difference in between. The next letter, letter zh. Letter zh, and it has zh sound, zh. You can practice zh with the word like zhuk. Letter zh belongs to the group of always hard consonants. Zh, sh, and ts always stay hard. They don't have the soft version of themselves. However, letter zh has the devoiced counterpart. Sh, zh, sh, zh, sh. Another important note about letter zh and her friends is that the vowel e that goes after these vowels, and including letter zh, sounds like ü. So in the words like жить, жизнь, we hear ü, but it's always written as e. So letter zh, sh, and ts never have ü after them, but it sounds like ü, but we always write e. Okay. After any hushing sounds, we don't use yo, you, ya, and ü. Sometimes even if it sounds, it's always going to be the other word. For example, if you hear it's going to be ye. If you hear ü, it's going to be e. If you hear ya, it's going to be a. And if you hear you, it's going to be u, and yo is going to be ye. So just the rule in Russian language, those vowels are never written after the hushing consonants. Practice the letter zh, the sound zh, with the following words. Жить, жизнь, кожа, багаж, тоже, также. Жить, жизнь, кожа, багаж, тоже, также. Жить, жизнь, кожа, багаж, тоже, также. Okay, and I have the translation here. The next letter, letter that reminds you of number 3. So think about 3, 2, 1, 0. So z, like in the word 0, is our next letter. You can practice it with the easy English words like zebra. Zebra in Russian language, zebra. Zebra. So z, letter z, and the sound z. Z is the voiced sound, and the devoiced sound is s. Z, s, z, s. Practice it with the following words. Zakaz, zakaz. You see how the first z is very prominent in its voice. Z, 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 zakaz. And the last letter, because it's at the end of the word, remember, it's devoiced. S, zakaz. Letter z can be soft, like in the word зять, зять, or zima, zima. So remember these words. We have zebra, we have zakaz, we have зять, we have zima. Let's also write завод, завод, зад, and назад. Зад, назад, завод, zebra, зять, zima. Next letter that looks like eel, eel, so it pronounced e as in eel. История, kit. And as I mentioned earlier, letter E pronounced as U after Ж, Ш, and Ц. For example, жизнь, машина, and цифра. So you can write down all of these words. We have история, kit, жизнь, машина, and цифра. And next letter looks exactly like E, but with a little something on top. So you remember letter yo, and this letter and the other letter are the only ones that have something on top going on. And it's easy to remember because both of them actually have the same sound in them. So yo has y-o, and this is one of those sounds, y, y. Y in the alphabet is called I краткая, and it makes sound y. You can practice it with the words like yoga, мой. Мой is the pronoun for masculine words. For example, you can say мой стол, my table, my desk, мой стол. For feminine words, you will use моя, like моя книга, моя девушка. But for now, let's practice мой стол. You can also practice it with the word йод, which is йодин, and very well-known adjective красивый. Красивый. Next letter, letter K, and that's the first letter of my toolkit. It pronounced exactly in English and in Russian. K. Pick any words to practice it, like красивый, Katya. You can say кот or кошка, кот masculine, кошка feminine. Ki can sound soft, like in the word cute in English language. Ki. You can practice it with the word кисть. Кисть. Well, кисть can be breast, this, and kist can be also the brush, kist. Okay, next letter, letter L. L sound L. Think about the letter, how you climb up the letter. It will help you remember this letter. L. And practice it with the words как дела? Как дела? How are you? Как дела? Балалайка, the Russian instrument, балалайка. And лед. So L can be soft from L, balalaika. It can be soft from using one of the vowels that I mentioned. L, led. L, balalaika. L, led. Like if you're trying to say L and E together. Li. You see? Led. Letter L and the other two letters M and N don't have voiced bodies. They're always devoiced. L, M, N, L, M, N. Very reduced. Okay. And as I mentioned, next letter, letter M or sound M, like in the word mama. Mama. No languages. Mama. You know what it means. Letter M is also from what? From my toolkit. It's pronounced exactly the same in English and in Russian. So let's practice it with the words мой. Again, мой стол. What is it? Or моя книга. Or моя девушка. Okay? M. Next letter, letter N. Or sound N. I know it looks like something else for English speakers, but remember L, M, N together, L, M, N. So this letter is N, and it looks like two people have their hands shaken and say, nice to meet you, N in Russian language. So you can practice it with the words like nos, in English nose, and we say nos, very short. And in the words like gigant, vegan, no, кино, банан, гном. Gigant, vegan, no, кино, банан, гном. Gigant, vegan or vegan, no, кино, банан, гном. Okay, I gave you a little bit more words because all of them English related words, and you can easily expand your vocabulary if you know that these words sound kind of similar in Russian language. The next letter, letter O, and the reason why this letter is not in my toolkit is because I told you earlier it can have different sounds. So O, pronounced as O, when it's stressed, like in the word молоко. When it's not stressed, it sounds like or something that you just want to skip, like So молоко, O is prominent only at the end, or like in the word овощи, or окно, Окно, you hear? I say a in the beginning and o at the end. And o can remind you of orchid in English, and in Russian we say орхидея, орхидея. So o in the beginning, but pronounced as a. And mostly in foreign words or after твердый знак, мягкий знак, soft sign, hard sign, we have it pronounced as yo, like in the words bouillon, champignon, почтальон, and so on. Moving on to next. So if we know that this letter is letter N, so what is this letter? This letter kind of looks like N in Roman alphabet or English language. And this letter is letter P or sound P, like in the parking space. Parking space. So parking space in Russian is also парковочное место or парковка. Парковка. So you can practice it with the words like парковка, папа, привет, пока, пот, пол, потолок. One more time. Парковка. What was the next one? Парковка, папа, привет, пока, пот, пол, потолок. Okay, the next letter. So if that letter is P, so what is this letter that looks like P? And this letter is letter R. Remember, you need to roll your R's in Russian language. How to roll your R's? You just try to say and then make it short. The tongue position changes every time I say R in Russian. It's really hard for me to continue saying it in English manner, R, because the tongue position is very different. It may sound a little bit similar, but the tongue R, like private, and привет, R. It's hard to continue after you roll your R. But yeah, this letter is letter R or sound R, and you can practice it with the word like rosa, which is rose. It's hard, I'm telling you. Rose, and then you need to say rosa. And again, привет, рот, торт, and метро. Привет, рот, торт, and метро. Okay, the next letter looks like a snake, and it pronounces as a snake. Letter S, as you remember, is devoiced body of letter Z, so Z. You can practice letter S in the words like stop, stол, stool, Moskva, nos. Stop, easy to remember. Stall, something that stalls you for 8 hours. You need to stop and stay there. Stall. Stool, like English, hard stool, but stool in Russian is chair, stool. Nos, easy to remember. And Moskva, just know how to say it right. Moskva. Okay. Letter S can be soft, like in the word семя, or Семен. And it can be hard, like in the word собак. Letter S is very reduced, so it's hard to hear the difference, but it's S in собака and S in семя. Okay? The next letter T or sound T. It's the third letter of my toolkit and is as easy as in English language. So T sound has the same pronunciation in English and in Russian. It's the devoiced body of voiced sound D, so D, T, and it can be also soft from T, Tom to T, Tima, T. And I think this is enough for letter T. The next letter, letter U, like in the word oops, U. You can practice it with the words пожалуйста. For some reason we don't hear y. Y goes We pass by y in this word, so just remember in the word пожалуйста, we say пожалуйста without you. Kind of like in English, we don't say ing, we don't say running, swimming. So kind of like swallow the ending, and here we don't say y, we say пожалуйста. And the other words to practice: букет, you know what it is, жук, муж, попугай, букет, жук, муж, попугай, стул, инструмент, автобус, йогурт, стул, инструмент, автобус, and йогурт. Стул, инструмент, автобус, йогурт. Okay, see, some of the words are very similar to English, but with the Russian pronunciation. Okay, next letter, the flamingo-looking letter that looks like this. Think about flamingos standing on one leg and having their wings on the head for some reason, like this. F, like in flamingo, letter F is the devoiced body of letter V. F, V. You remember корова, but коров. The devoiced body because we pronounce it devoiced. Let's practice letter F with the following words: lift, office, football, telephone, forma, firma, fisica, fruct. One more time: lift, office, football, telephone, forma, firma, fisica, fruct. Most of the words again are English sounding, so it's good to know. And remember that football is not football, football is soccer. Okay. Hot. Next letter. Letter that looks like helicopter, in helicopter is the next letter. Letter H and sound H. You can practice it with the words like хлеб, joke. Архитектор, схема, хорошо, probably know this one, and хирург. Архитектор, схема, хорошо, хирург. Okay, letter H. The next letter, letter C. You remember that after C we have E sounding as I, like in the word цифра. Or other vowels that I told you about sound differently, like here about церковь. Церковь sounds like E, but E never goes after it, it's always E. Церковь, цифра, цирк, центр, концерт, pizza, птица. These words are easy to remember because center in Russian is центр. Concert is концерт. Pizza is the same, and птица, birdie, птица. Okay, I know a lot of people have difficulty pronouncing letter C because the closest in English language that I could find is the TS pronunciation, right? Like in English you say tsar, Russian tsar, but in Russian we say царь. You hear the difference? Tsar and царь. So we don't actually pronounce ts as ts. It's easy to say ts in English because it's the closest that you have for language, but try practicing ts. So it's like s in there, and you try to just whistle between your teeth, saying kind of like exhale, and with the same time you put your tongue to the teeth ridge and say just a little bit harder than you would with the letter S. So letter S goes S without the whistle, but try to whistle and then break the air flow with your tongue. So this is going to be your ts sound. So the word tsar should be pronounced as царь. Центр, церковь, цирк, pizza, птица. Some of the words, as we heard, that has C in English would sound like ц, like recipe, a recept, or center, center, reception, recepция. So s would be similar. Okay, moving on to next letter cha, sound ch. Sound ch, letter cha is always soft, and this letter doesn't have the vowels that I mentioned after it. E sounds as e in this case. So in the word чисто, we actually hear E because ch is soft and it sounds like E. In the case with zh, sh, c, because these are hard letters, they make letter E sound hard. Жизнь, цифра, машина, but чисто, ch, like in cherry. Or think about the upside down chair. You take the chair, it's upside down, chair, okay? Practice it with the word часы, чисто, часто, час, точка, почта, кетчуп, чай, час, точка, почта, кетчуp, chai. Ketchup spelled with T, but we don't pronounce T. Ketchup, we say ketchup. Same in English, ketchup. Okay. Next letter Shcha, or sound sh. Think about the shelf. Shelf and sound sh comes to mind. Sh. Practice it with the words машина, шанс, шеф, шарф, шоколад, шуба, бабушка, машина, шеф, шарф, шоколад, шуба, бабушка. Sh. Just like in English you would say she, this sh sound. The next sound is very difficult for English speakers, and it's the same sh with a little tail hanging on, and it's pronounced as sh. So here, she, sh, and she. So she is always soft, and it's basically the soft version of the letter sh. So from sh it goes to sh. You can hear it in the words like борщ, the beet soup, or щи, cabbage soup, or щенок, щиколотка, щука. English equivalent that I could find with letter sh is something that ts, ch, sh, I hear, right? You pronounce, like, I think борщ is translated to English as борщ, ch. So, it doesn't help. This doesn't help your pronunciation. From my research, what I understood is when you try to say sh, because you already know how to say sh in English, she, sh, your tongue is somewhere rolled, like in your mouth, rolled somewhere in the middle, sh. It's not touching your teeth, like when you say s. You hear how close the tongue is when you say s, it's close to the teeth reach, and sh, it's somewhere in the back. So when you try to go from sh to s, you will have that sh sound somewhere in the middle. So stop on that sh sound. Sh. And now try to practice. She. Щенок. So with that sh, as you find it, try to say those words. Борщ, щи, щенок, щиколотка. The position of the tongue is different. I don't think you use it for anything in English language, so you will need to learn that position in the tongue. Otherwise, you will always sound as sh, like борщ, and щи, and щенок. Okay? The next letter, very interesting, твердый знак, мягкий знак, hard sign, soft sign, they look like musical notes, but they actually don't produce any sounds of their own. So the purpose of this hard sign and soft sign is to bring hardness and softness to the consonant. They actually divide letter into two parts when you hear it in the speech. For example, with the hard sign, въезд, объем, въезд, объем. So first you hear that the word is a little bit divided. V and yes sound separately. Ob and yom sound separately now. If we did not have the hard sign, the words въезд and объем would be въезд and объем. You remember, because the vowels ye and yo, those iotated vowels, bring softness to the consonants, so they make them soft. And in this case, they don't want them to be soft. Въезд and объем. The reasons why we have these letters in the alphabet is that because we can, well, that's from the history, right? It's not now, that's something that was built when the alphabet was established. We can mislead words. So the word вест, for example, sounds kind of like везде, and we want it to be something different. It would be въезд. So to avoid misinterpretation, to avoid the confusion between words, the hard sign and soft sign were invented. It expands our vocabulary. It makes us pronounce words differently, so we know what word we're actually talking about. Like in the example with the word семья and семя. So семья is family, семя is a seed. And maybe it has the same root, maybe not, but we want to have two different words, and the only reason why these words sound differently is because of мягкий знак. Or, например, for example, the word банка and банька are two different words. Or the words like налет and нальет, also different parts of speech. So basically, hard sign, soft sign, making sure that we understand the word we're talking about. It gives us more context. It also let us know about, well, it helps us expand vocabulary, and with case of мягкий знак, not the твердый знак, but мягкий знак, soft sign, it helps us to determine if the word is feminine or masculine. So if after the hushing consonant we have мягкий знак, it means that the word is feminine. Now, for example, in the words like дочь, ночь, печь, the chair is always soft. It doesn't bring any softness having that мягкий знак after the consonant. But it helps us to know that this word is feminine, and the words плащ, плащ, врач, грач are masculine, just because they don't have the soft sign. Okay? So with the hard sign, you will rarely see the hard sign. Even prepping this video, I only thought of two words, объем and въезд, and I just couldn't think of anything else with the hard sign, but I'm sure there are more words, and even подъезд is also one of them. You will rarely see hard sign, and hard sign is in the beginning of going to be in the beginning of the word. Soft sign, the opposite, you will see it often, you'll see it all the time, and it can be in the beginning of the word, in the middle, or at the end. And as I mentioned, at the end it has different functions. At the end it has one of the functions is to let us know that the word is feminine when we talk about hushing sounds, and other words is different. So конь, мягкий знак at the end of the consonant, but конь is masculine. So make sure you understand the context. Practice it with the following words: вьюга, письмо, деньги. Вьюга, письмо, деньги, soft sign in the middle. At the end, дочь, ночь, печь. Another note about soft sign is that in many borrowed words, in foreign words, we use мягкий знак to help us Russian speakers to pronounce the words. For example, in French, bouillon or champignon, we say it as bouillon, champignon. We have мягкий знак written there, and the combination of soft sign and letter or help us say something something similar. I'm butchering French language, I'm sorry, and I'm sure that bouillon doesn't sound the way I speak it now, but that's what I'm trying to say. So foreign words written with the soft sign for that purpose, to help us be closer to the native language. Bouillon, champignon, pavilion, pedestal. So these are all foreign words. Okay, the next letter gives also a lot of problems to English speakers. Letter E. It looks like an affair between the soft sound and English E. E, short E. And this letter actually sounds like E, E, but short, and it also has more tension. If I think about letter E, I think about my jaw moving forward. Try saying E and move your jaw forward. E. That is a weird sound. You don't have to smile like with E. With E, we smile. With E, it's more square. But the jaw is moving forward. It's something in between and and think about the word egg, like cracked egg. That sound and that sound is like with a little smile and the jaw forward. You can practice it in the words like мышь, часы, штаны, чипсы, музыка, тыква. In the example with часы, штаны, чипсы, E is the indicator of plural case. E and E at the end can signal us that the word is in plural. So, for example, I can say stol, but in plural it's столы, стол, столы, or телефон, телефоны. So with consonant we use either E or E. And some words are always plural, just like in English, because часы has multiple parts, but it's one item, so it's always in plural. Or штаны, дай мне мои штаны, not мой, not моя, мои in plural, дай мне мои штаны, because штаны has two parts, but it's part of a whole, so it's in plural. And E is indicator of that plural number. And again, practice it with the words, like I said, мышь, часы, штаны, чипсы, музыка, and тыква. Okay? The next letter, as I said, is egg. Think about cracked egg. You can practice it with the following words: egoist, economist, enthusiast, ego. So everything in English that sounds like E, my ego. And here we say ego, economist, 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 enthusiast, enthusiast. For eco, we say echo. Then we also have echo, echo. I want you to not say E when it's written as e. So every time you have think about the correct egg and make an effort to say it economist, enthusiast, ego. Okay, only two letters left. So then we have letter U, like in uniform, like in uniform. U is also one of the iotated letters, so it's very prominent. It has two sounds when it's in the beginning, like in the word Yula or Yulia, Russian name, and it's more reduced, has one sound in the word like колючка or рюкзак. Okay, колючка, рюкзак, Yula, Yulia. You'll not see you that many times. You not a very used letter. Okay, and finally, can believe, for me it took what, 2 hours? It's already 1 hour for this video. Whoa. Okay, finally we have letter ya. Think about the yellow R and this yar. Ya in Russian language is I. And you can practice it with the words, everything with я, Катя, or меня зовут Катя, меня. Я in the words моя, мяч, дядя, тетя. Я. And ya is the last of the iotated vowels and also the last letter of the Russian alphabet. Okay, guys, I'm so glad that we finished it, and I'm going to quickly summarize every rule that I mentioned here. So the quick summary around the rules in Russian alphabet is that the first one is we remember my toolkit. Just out the window, we remember my toolkit. Let it settle. These are 3 letters that you pronounce exactly the same in Russian and in English. Okay, my toolkit. Then the next rule that I want you to know is that in Russian letters, consonants can be voiced and devoiced. Not all consonants, but most of them have the body that they sometimes sound voiced and devoiced. 2 sub-rules. When voiced consonants sound devoiced, it's when they are at the end of the word, like in the word хлеб. You remember хлеб? Or корова becomes коров, корова, коров. Вода, вот, вода, but вот. Okay, it becomes devoiced. When the voiced and devoiced consonants are together, the second, if the first letter is voiced and the second is devoiced, it becomes devoiced. The whole word becomes devoiced. And I forgot to mention the opposite. If the first letter is devoiced and the second letter is voiced, both letters sound voiced. Then the consonants can be soft. Some consonants are always soft, some are always hard. But for most of our consonants, they can be soft. For example, you remember vase, vaza, and Vietnam, Vietnam, Vietnam. So the consonants can be soft. The next rule is about iotated vowels, ye, yo, you, ya. Those vowels can have 2 sounds or 1 sound. They have 1 sound when they go after the consonant, like in the word kebab or teta or dada. It sounds soft and it's prominent. It has 2 sounds when they're in the beginning of the word, like ягода, Ekaterina, ёлка, юла. And it has 2 sounds when they go after a vowel, приезд, приезд, прием. And has 2 sounds after hard sign and soft sign, like in the words въезд, въезд, or вьюга, вьюга. And I mentioned already, but we have consonants that are always hard, zh, sh, ц, consonants that are always soft, ch and sh. After this consonant, we don't use vowels, yo, you, ya, and in the written language. And remember that after hard consonants, zh, sh, ц, E sounds like it's written as E, but we hear like in the words машина, жизнь, and цифра. I think this was precise summary of pronunciation rules around Russian alphabet. I gave you minimal vocabulary to start with. I gave you short words, I gave you some English sounding words, and the important part was for you to get familiar with pronunciation, with that softness and hardness, with that voiced and devoiced pronunciation, because as you go with the language, you'll start observing words quickly, you'll find a lot of foreign words, borrowed words, and once you learn them in the wrong manner, it's hard to relearn. Trust me, I did not take snowboarding lessons for 7 years, and now I have to relearn my snowboarding. And the muscle memory is what's hard to adjust, and your mental memory works exactly the same way. If you learn to say babushka, people don't say babushka after that. So learn your stresses correctly, learn the pronunciation correctly. Try to go with me and make an effort sounding 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 like sh and ts. And as you understand how it works in your mouth, you will move on quickly with other pronunciation, with words. Okay, this was our #1 video, and we have how many more to go? 7 more to go. Thanks for staying with me, guys, and I'll see you soon. Пока-пока.